penguin.
Who's trying to horn in on the food right there, we're going to try and make him get down in the water because, yeah, we tend to like to feed them while they're swimming. And so why do we hand feed them and why do we like to do it in the water?
It's a great question. Well, I do want to point out that I brought a friend with me today. This is Dick. He's a biologist on staff. He's going to be recording what we're feeding the birds today. And that's really important actually for us to keep track of what they eat and how much they eat. The reason for that it's important to track their appetite. I did want to show you about some herring today and some capelin. And this is a higher protein fish and a higher fat fish. And the reason it's important for us to track before they go through this molt process, you can notice how Grendel and Dyer are a little bit bigger than some of the other penguins. They do bulk up since they would generally be spending the time on land and fasting during that 3-week period. So they actually bulk up and will lose about half, in the wild, they lose about half of their body weight during that period of time. And then they'll go swimming and hunting for about 6 weeks to bulk back up in the wild.
So you can see that molting is a really vulnerable time for penguins in the wild. But in here, they don't have to worry so much.
Not as vulnerable. They're pretty well taken care of, and as you can see, they get the option to eat during that molt period, so it's pretty good. But the reason that we do keep track of their appetite is, one, that's an indicator for us. They're either going into a molt, and or if it's a female, she could be ready to lay some eggs, which is generally about a yearly process. They lay a clutch of 2 eggs just a couple days apart. Or if we notice that their appetite is dropped, that's an indication to us that there's something going on internally with these birds.
And my understanding is that we do have a couple eggs in here with us. Off at the far end here, it looks like Dunker is sitting outside guarding the door.
Yeah, those wings as well in a flapping pattern.
And I hear these penguins have a pretty good bite on them.
Like I said, they know how to use that beak very, very well, so it's something to be aware of.
I know. I have been in here as a volunteer helping out with these penguins, and yeah, they can bite. Though never very hard for me, thankfully. Now we're going to let Erin get down in the water, and she is going to be trying to hand feed these birds and distribute the fish as evenly as possible. And Nick is going to be recording what all of these birds eat. So I'm going to take over and let her concentrate on getting all these birds fed, because you can see there's usually a bit of commotion when this happens, though. Oh, it looks like they're going to make a liar out of me and be quiet today. Yeah, well, maybe a little activity. Now, you may see that she's got the smaller metal can in the crook of her arm there, and those are where the vitamin fish go. So it's also where we can surreptitiously give things like medication to our birds. So the reason that they get vitamin fish is, as you can see, the fish that they're eating are no longer alive. And what we do is we actually have a special fisherman go out and catch our fish for us, which we then put in the deep freeze and we ration out throughout the year. So we make sure that they always have a very stable supply of sustainably managed seafood. And since we freeze it and then it thaws out, it could lose a little nutrition. So we give them vitamins just to make sure that they're getting absolutely everything they need. But they eat a very sustainable diet. Now, they're not eating the exact species that they would eat in Africa. So does anyone know why we don't give them those exact species of fish? Anyone have a guess? Do you have a guess? No? Anyone?
It'd be hard to get them all the way from
It wouldn't be necessarily harder to get them all the way from Africa than it is for us to get them all the way from Canada. One of the main reasons is that even though we've got a really happy, healthy colony here, the numbers of these birds in the wild are falling dramatically. They have been recently upgraded to an endangered species. Yeah, and part of that is because they have to compete with another animal for food, a much larger animal that goes fishing with large boats and nets. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah, people. So if you want to know how you can help penguins in the wild, come on up to me after the program. I'll set you up with one of our Monterey Bay seafood watch cards. And these have a green list, which are the things that we should be eating, and the red list, which are the things that we should maybe avoid because of questionable fishing practices or overfishing. And that's a way that you can just every day help these fish-eating animals in the wild. Very, very fast metabolism, really high-powered digestion. Yep. Their fish are pretty much digested. Like everything. Bones, eyes, organs, etc. Just sort of washes them off, but they will also groom themselves, so they'll use their beaks to preen their feathers to make sure that everything's arranged just so. Usually the process takes about a month from the beginning, where they just begin to sort of, scarf down raw food and preparation. And so from that point all the way to the end, where they finally have their feathers oiled and arranged properly to go back in the water, that's usually about a month. The actual time where they are physically losing their feathers is usually 10 days to 2 weeks. And it's like 6 minutes. No, they can. This particular species is non-migratory, so these birds can molt at any time of the year. For each individual, it happens once a year, but there's no environmental pressure for all of the birds to molt at a particular time of year. So Grendel and Geyer are both molting right now, and they'll molt this time next year. Oh. Yeah, but they all kind of, I think we have 10 months of the year